Hello and welcome to the What Women Want Today podcast. You might be asking yourself right about now, well, what do women want? I mean, we're pretty complex creatures, right? Well, I think we want it all, and I'm here to explore it with you. My name is Terry Kellums. I'm your host. Go grab your favorite beverage. I've already got my glass of wine, and let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the What Women Want Today podcast. I'm your host, Terry Kellums, and today I am joined by a very special lady, Melissa Lamson. I wish her partner could be here with her, but I'm going to give her an opportunity to tell us about both of them. Melissa, thank you so much for agreeing to join me today. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Terry. Thanks for having me.
So, Melissa, let's start out just by getting to know you a little bit. You are in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Are you a native?
I'm not. No, we moved here almost 10 years ago. We're kind of bizarre helicopter parents and followed my stepson here who went to ASU.
Oh, got it. So what part of the country are you from?
Well, we moved here from the Bay Area, but I'm originally from the East Coast.
Gotcha. So you've kind of just been all over the map.
Yeah. A lot of bouncing.
I am a Midwest transplant. I think back in 2006 when everybody was sort of flocking to Arizona.
Nice.
I was one of those people. So
sounds good.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about you and your career path and how you got to be where you are today.
Sure. So my career path has been in leadership and diversity and inclusion. And I'm kind of a weird situation in that I have never been internal corporate. Usually you have an internal job and then you jump out and you do consulting, but I've really done consulting since the beginning. And I was really lucky after I completed my master's in intercultural relations, specializing in diversity management, that I got to work with some of the best in the field at that time in diversity management. And so got a lot of direct training on how to run a consulting business and then how to train and coach and so forth. And so it's been a kind of a process from there of continued learning. And so then I moved to Germany and I ran two companies there, built and ran two companies, one on diversity management in Europe and then another on global leadership and coach global leaders who are doing business all over the world and trying to expand their business all over the world.
Wow, that's impressive. I was on your website and I did read about you and your partner, and you both have incredible credentials. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your business partner?
Thanks. Sure. Yes. Kimberly Miles. I was really lucky to meet Kimberly a couple of years ago. And last year during the pandemic, I said to my husband, let's get out of here for a few weeks in the summer. It's blazing hot and, we can't do anything anyway here because of the pandemic. So let's go hiking or somewhere. And he said, what did he say? He said, I will do that under duress. Like he did not want to leave or go anywhere. And so we have a running joke now at home, like I'm going to stay home under duress and you're going to leave under duress. So I called Kim up and I said, what are you doing next week? I was supposed to be walking the Camino up the coast of Portugal. Of course, that was canceled. And I said, you want to go to Sedona for a few days and just hike and try to be out in the fresh air? And she said, yeah, that sounds great. We had no intention of starting a business, but then I found out more about her background and how many, incredible projects she's done and brick and mortar business and top of her game in a network marketing company. And then also just coaching a lot of women on starting their own businesses. And so I said, wow, that's a lot of complementary skills and accomplishments to mine. Let's spin something up. And so that's how Recreate was born.
Wow, that's a great story. And so I just had to ask because I love Sedona. Did you guys hike Devil's Bridge?
I think it was Devil's Bridge. I know we did a hike every morning and we did a couple that were right around the Enchantment Resort because that's where we were staying. But the Devil's Bridge sounds familiar. So we might've done that.
Yeah, you would know it because you get to a certain point and you'll see all these people out on this crazy ledge taking pictures.
Yeah, then we were there.
Yes. Yeah. And you can kind of walk down around, you can get on that little ledge and it looks so scary. And I'm afraid of heights, but I was
me
like,
too.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Yeah, so. Me too. I always try to overcome it. Right?
Exactly. No, that's a great hike.
Totally.
For anybody who's ever had the thought of visiting Arizona, make sure Sedona is on your list.
Definitely.
All right. So with all of that being said, with the hike and all of these wonderful accomplishments that both of you have had and how they complement each other, how did you get to the company that you both have together now, Recreate?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were talking a lot about, we had both kind of recently turned 50, and we were thinking about how is it different now in midlife, and really leaning into what does the second half of our life look like, and what kind of legacy do we want to leave, and what kind of meaning and purpose do we want to continue to work with, particularly. And then we thought, well, I wonder if other women feel this way, right? Our age. And so we started to think about, well, what if we created kind of a platform or program where everything was served up on a silver platter to be able to build and launch a business? And would that be interesting for women our age, particularly because the traditional incubator and accelerators are primarily for 20 and 30-year-olds, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not always, it's not always a market that is sort of played to, particularly women, right? And so,
right, because at our age, we're supposed to start, getting to the rocking chair and knitting, right?
right. And we're highly accomplished. We have tons of experience and knowledge. We're super impatient. And, theoretically, we have at least 30 years left of stuff that we want to get done. And in fact, funny, this week, we just lowered the age to come into our action tank to 40 and over, because with the pandemic, so many women are thinking about starting businesses and are stepping out of corporate jobs to start businesses. And that really is more around the 40-year point, where they've got a lot of experience. They feel really qualified in terms of their jobs, but they're really ready to do something else that's exciting to them and really leaning into that passion. And so we're excited to kind of serve women, I guess you could say middle age, and above. Yeah.
Yeah. I love everything you just said, because I feel like that is the point in life where I've gotten over the last couple of years. But it's funny that you say middle age, because I think people do think of midlife or middle age as 50, but it's really probably closer to 40. Yeah. If you think about it. Yeah. But I love so much what you said, because I do feel like women get to this point, and, it's not that being a mom isn't a wonderful accomplishment. It's not that, having a well-run household isn't a very hard job. But, it can leave some women feeling like, but what have I done? What have I accomplished? Yes. And what is, like you've said, what is next for me? What is this part of my life supposed to look like? And you also said something on your website that I picked up on, maybe it was in one of your videos, and you have tremendous resources there. So I want to make sure to put your website in the show notes today so people can go out there. You've got great resources. But one of the things that I really love is that you talk about like fun, and you talk about like-minded women. And I think that's really tough sometimes, because as women, we can sort of, let our careers and home life and all the needs of everyone else sort of take precedence. And, we can get to a spot where we're like, well, where are my people? And for women, and you said you haven't been like technically in the corporate world, but in the corporate world, my experience was, don't share your knowledge with other women, because that they might get ahead of you. And I had a lot of like backstabbing experiences where, they were very kind to your face and you thought you were collaborating on a project or working towards a common goal. And then the next thing you find out, no, they were just collecting information so they could spew it out as their own. And so you tend to start to pull away from women in that corporate setting, because you're just not really sure who you can trust. And then here you are, and it's like, you look around and you're like, where's my like-minded women? Where are the women who are willing to support other women? I love that you said that. You said women supporting other women, I think was how you put it.
Yeah.
But I love that. And I love that also in midlife, there seems to be this growing community of women who are realizing we don't have to compete with each other.
Right. That's right.
We can support each other. There's room enough for all of us to be successful and thrive.
That's right.
So I love what you guys are doing. I commend you for it.
Yeah. And in fact, it's critical. I mean, if we don't support each other, it's not going to be easy for any of us. So it's really, really important. And I feel terribly sad that you had that experience when you were in the corporate world. And it's something that I've always felt very privileged that I've had incredible female mentors and women in my life who I don't think I've really ever experienced negative situation with other women. And so but it's something that I just really push. And, when I used to hire women to work for me, I would say to them in the application process or in the interview, okay, so if I give you this job, I just want you to know that you now have made a vow, if you start to work for me, that you will pass it forward. So whenever you're in a position to hire women or you're in a position to mentor women, then I want you to think of me and I want you to be conscious of that. And always be really collaborative with women. And it's funny because they were, either in school or in their early 20s and sort of looking at me strangely like, okay, but all of them or many of them I've stayed in touch with them. They've come back to me and be like, I remember that you said that because I thought it was so strange at the time. And now I totally get it. Right. Because they're in their 40s now and going, wow, I'm really glad that you told me that. Yeah. Because it's so important that we support each other. So yeah. So the fun piece, which I want to come back to. So that was the other thing. So we were saying, Kimberly and I were talking about what's also kind of missing for us in middle age. It's like, well, especially during a pandemic, is not having a lot of fun. And so we wanted to not only create a business building platform with all the seriousness of all the tools and the hard work, but we wanted to also make sure that we're providing fun. So we have what we call surprise and delight. So throughout the program, we have things like tours to museums, and we have interesting talks by fun people who are coming in and special performances and music and all these kinds of cool things that we're trying to add in so that, because we also really believe not only is it important to have fun just generally, but we think fun breaks down inhibitions, and then that allows us to be more creative, and then that leads us to be more innovative, and then that really prepares our brains for building a business and then also thinking about how we grow it and scale it in a really creative way.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. So let's talk about the program a little bit.
Sure.
So you're up in Sedona, you start talking about this, you have this wonderful idea. And where did you go from there? How did you sort of like pull it all together?
I know. Yeah. Well, luckily we had a lot of experience between the two of us to kind of figure out what's the first step. So of course, market research. I shouldn't say that. The first step was really writing down everything we thought, and it was just spilling out of us. Like, this is what the program looks like. This is how long it should be. This is the name. I mean, everything came to us really quickly. And so we named it Recreate. And then we said it was going to be the Recreate Action Tank. We like the word action tank as opposed to mastermind or coaching or networking or even accelerator, because not everybody knows what all that means. And it wasn't as comprehensive as we wanted it to be. So then we went out into our market and basically our friends and extended community of, women over 40 and said, what do you think? And really just asked them certain questions about what would they like in terms of building a business? What does this mean for them? And we just got a whole bunch of great feedback about how to kind of define the program and refine it. And are we on track? And we were on track with probably 70%. And then we modified and changed and added, which is, exactly what we teach in terms of customer validation in the program. Mm-hmm. And so we came up with a 6-month program, 3 live events. In between, we do some virtual courses, as well as they meet in accountability groups, which we call creation pods. And then at the end, they have a pitch event. So I pulled together, or we both went out and talked to our network and pulled together this judges panel, if you will, of all really successful entrepreneurs in the Valley, to basically act as mentors, potential partners, maybe even potential investors if they really like the idea. And at the end of the day 3 live event, that evening will be a pitch event. And then we'll have a big celebration of all of their business launches. And it should be a really great time. And so we'll have press and all kinds of interesting people there. And if you happen to be in Phoenix, we'd love to have you.
It'd be amazing.
Have as many people supporting them as possible.
Yeah, for sure. So the women who would be interested in your program, what would their background look like?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because we just really defined that pretty recently and tightly, I would say. So women over 40 who are either entrepreneurs and they have a lagging business, or they just really want to spin up another business and they want to do it, in a very systematic way in a community, right, setting,
Mm-hmm.
so that they're not really alone. And then, so entrepreneurs, the other category are women in corporate. We're finding that a lot of companies now, particularly the sort of new businesses or technology companies, are excited about their employees spinning up side businesses or side hustles. And so if there are women in corporate who would like to also start a business in addition to their corporate job, and then possibly it's their exit strategy at some point, then that's really becoming an interesting market for us. So that's the second one. And then the third one are just really empty nesters. And, what we were talking about a bit earlier, women who have raised families and they're just not as needed as much anymore by their families and the household, and are interested in, they have kind of a passion project and they're interested in seeing if they could turn it into a viable business. So that's also our third market.
Oh, I love that. I love having women on the podcast who have done these pivots in life, who have, just gone out there and just done it anyway, even if they were afraid to do it. These stories are very inspiring. And I know the listeners just love that kind of thing. So what is the process for someone once, they learn about your program, they go out and they visit your website? What would be the process for them to get involved with your program?
Yeah, so I'll share that for sure. I'm going to come back to what you just said, because I think that's really important, that for me, particularly in this, when COVID hit, it was scary. I traveled 80% of the time. I was working with clients all over the world, and all of a sudden everything just screeched to a halt. Mm-hmm. And so I understand, exactly what it's like to be in that situation where you go, oh my gosh, what do I do next? Or how do I continue? Both so that I don't go insane during the pandemic, but also because, we all have to make money and make a living. And so that was an opportunity to say, okay, let me lean into what I'm really excited about and passionate about, but also reinvent and reestablish and recreate. And so,
yes.
I was in the process of doing that for myself, actually, in building this platform for other women. So that's why I'm so personally invested in it, and Kimberly too. And so, okay, so how do we get involved? Well, if you're interested, if people are already listening and they're saying, wow, I really want to do this, then we have an apply link on our website at recreatenow.org. But if they'd like to just kind of have a conversation, or if they just kind of like to poke around and see who we are, and then they could certainly join our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group called Women 40 Plus Ready to Launch. And that would be a good place to kind of see, what are the resources, who we are, see who else is involved. And we'd love to see them there.
Awesome. I'm writing that down. I wanted to make sure I wrote that down so I wouldn't forget to put that in the show notes.
I can send you the links too. Yeah.
No, that'd be great. So they go there, they apply, and then I imagine you have just lots and lots of interest in this program. So how many people get accepted into the program?
We do. We're capping it at 20. We're already enrolling and filling for January 2022. Okay. We do have some spots left, but it will go fast. The program costs $12,000. So you can pay $2,000 a month for the payments. That's perfectly fine. Or you can pay it all up front and then you get a little bit of a savings.
Sure. Yeah. So are you going to hold 2 a year then? Is that kind of the plan?
That's the plan for now. We're also in talks with Denver and Salt Lake City, and believe it or not, internationally, there's a lot of interest. So We're hoping to be able to run more of these every year in all different locations.
Wow, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
What an accomplishment. Good for you guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's so good to see women succeed. I have a funny little story. My youngest daughter and I used to sit and watch, what was it? American Idol, I think it was, or, one of those type shows years ago. And, you get kind of involved with people's stories and all that, and when they would have to leave the show or whatever, my daughter would say, "Oh, you look sad." And I would say, "Well, that was their dream, and
right.
Their dream is just got a little sucker punch." So, I love to see people succeed. I love your story.
We do too. Yeah.
I wish you so much success. I wish I was in the Phoenix area, but,
Hey, we have a couple people flying in for it. So,
oh, do you?
Yeah, so we're not opposed to having people come in, travel in.
So you're meeting virtually and in person, or just in person?
Correct. So both. So for example, we had June 19th, we kicked off at the Saguaro Hotel in Scottsdale. And then day 2, we were at the University Club downtown Phoenix. And then now we'll be at the Hermosa Inn for day 3, October 30th. And then the last event, we're still planning on where that's going to be, but it'll probably be in Phoenix. As opposed to Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And and then in between, they meet virtually over Zoom for their creation pods. And then we have some, how to get access to funding courses. We have an IP protection course that we did virtually. We're going to do a tech tools course virtually so that they get these kind of other pieces in there. The day 1 is all about visioning, customer validation, creating your business model canvas, really understanding your market. And then day 2 is all sales, channel, flow, CRM. And then day 3 is marketing, your marketing strategy, digital marketing, and then also your go-to-market plan.
Wow, that sounds incredible. It really, really does.
Super tactical, which is what's useful. Yeah.
Awesome. So I will make sure to put your website and your Facebook group name in the show notes.
Terrific.
Is there anything else you'd like the listeners to know today before we end?
No, just that, if anyone's been thinking about something, one of the things we know is it can be overwhelming and scary. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know, right? So if you join us or want to have a conversation with us, we'll just take all of that anxiety out of it. I mean, that's the whole goal, is to make it super user-friendly, super easy, super tactical. And it's just really a step-by-step plan to trust the process and then have something that you've built and launched at the end. So you can do it.
Yeah. So you get all that, you get to be with like-minded women, and you get to have fun. It's just a win-win for everyone.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show with me today. It was such a pleasure to learn more about your business and what you're doing. And I can't wait to see how successful it is.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. If you'd like to continue the conversation, come on over and join our private Facebook group, What Women Want Today. I'd love to hang out with you some more there. Any resources mentioned in today's episode will be in the show notes. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at What Women Want Today Podcast, or visit my website at whatwomenwanttoday.com. Please remember to subscribe, download, and share. Leave me a review. It helps other amazing women find the show and become a member of our community. One last thing for you today. You are not alone. You are worthy of love and a fulfilled life. Now it's time to go after it.